The big news that came out earlier today, Deshaun Watson's 6-game suspension has been handed down by the judge, and now the NFL can perhaps appeal. Maybe they have by the time you're listening to this podcast. So this is not done yet, but we're getting there. We're getting closer to being done. Maddie Bostic says, do you think the potential 6-game suspension for Deshaun Watson will reflect negatively on the NFL's image for being too soft?
Yes, I do. I mean, I just think it's a hot-button topic. We know it's a hot-button topic, not in the NFL and just, current relevant news, but as you know, it's a hot-button topic, just this issue to begin with in our country the last few years. It is. So that's where, I think with the optics, it's a very tough one. Again, as we know, there's been no charges. He's didn't get indicted, so there's going to be that side who is on Deshaun Watson's side of it and go, look, none of that happened. He should just be able to be free. And then there's going to be the other side of it that's going to go, wait, but there's 30 women, 30 that the Texans settled with. Deshaun's settled with 23 out of the 24 as of right now with one left. We know there's other women out there that, at least were somewhat involved to a degree. So I think between that and then as we talked about in the spring with Trevor Bauer getting a 2-year suspension for Major League Baseball, that's where I think it's going to look soft. I do. And I think that, you're going to have people who, are paying attention to this, common fan or just the casual fan that's, hey, who knows Deshaun Watson and knows what a big subject this is. I think they're going to reflect on this very negatively. I didn't think in the spring I thought it was going to be a year. And as I said on Pro Football Talk today, to me the change, and I said this last week too, the change happened when I can't remember who it was, but somebody wrote the article about some of the owners who have had bad conduct, Irsay, Kraft, missing somebody else, Dan Snyder,
right.
Jerry Jones, all those, to where, they wrote that, hey, listen, these guys, these are the owners. The CBA states that, they should be held to the letter of the law every bit as much as the players, if not more, because they're owners. And I think a lot of people in the public feel like those owners got off with like a slap on the wrist. So then here we have owner, quarterback, player, African-American. There's a lot of optics that play in this to where, yes, I think a year suspension, as far as comparing it to the past owners, looks harsh. And I think ever since that was brought to light, which I want to say mid-June or whatever, I feel like ever since that point, that swayed a little bit of a public opinion, but I feel like it swayed me, and I know it swayed others to make me think like, oh, no, this year suspension is not going to happen. The NFLPA has a real case here to argue against the NFL, and that's where I started to change my tune and go, I think it's going to be 6, 8, 10 games. I mean, no more than 10.
The most important thing that I think needs to happen for Deshaun Watson, he needs to own it.
Yeah.
And he hasn't done that yet.
No, I know.
There's got to come a point where he owns this.
Right.
And he says, what I did was wrong. I made mistakes. I'm going to try to get better. And that's the only way you can move on.
Yeah.
Because with his press conference, and I know that legalities were still ongoing, and they're still ongoing at this point.
He tried to say some things, but he didn't quite address it like that.
Yeah, like the full story will come out.
Yeah.
I'll be even to the point like the truth will come out.
Yeah.
And it's kind of implying that maybe these women were lying. He's got to own it, and he's got to say this was bad. I'm going to get better. I apologize, and let's move on. Until that happens, I feel like a lot of people are going to have negative feelings towards Deshaun Watson.
I hear you there, and I don't know how far he's going to go down that road there. This is just going to be one of those sensitive subjects.
I know.
Yeah, I think I hear you. Take some ownership. Again, I don't think he's going to ever say he's guilty or anything like that, but just say, when he kind of tried to say this during the introductory press conference, like he feels bad for the position he's put everybody in.
Yeah.
That's what he tried to say. But you're right. That's not going to go over well with everybody. It's not. This is a dicey one. Again, there is a huge spotlight on this. It was 6 games. Yeah, I'm a little surprised it was that low. I thought maybe it would be 8, but I'm not shocked at 6. All right. I don't think the NFL can come back and give him 17. I don't. I think that will look too harsh now and almost like borderline like you're picking on the black quarterback type of thing too.
Yeah.
I'll just say that too. We're just flat out, at least what I think some people's optics will look like, right? So that's where I wonder, where this goes. But it's not over yet. As we know, the NFL has the last say. They roughly have 72 hours to rebuttal this. And again, Roger Goodell is the guy ultimately that can still upstage Judge Sue Robinson's decision here and decide to do really whatever he wants and what he deems necessary and what's best for the NFL. And that's where I do think public opinion is going to come into account. And then him talking to the 5 or 8 owners that are talked to on a regular basis about big subjects in the NFL, the guys that really run the day-to-day league. I would imagine those conversations are going to go down and you're going to see where it happens. We'll see where it goes from there.
Story is not done, but
it's not done.
Within the next week, we should have a pretty good idea of where this is going, if it's going to continue or if it is going to pretty much end before the season begins.
I would think we're going to know here. I wonder. We have, Hall of Fame game on Thursday night.
Yeah.
I think because of that, I think that the NFL is not going to come back with their revised suspension yet because they're not going to want NBC maybe taking a half hour talking about this subject on the first pregame NFL show of the year. I could see them maybe coming out with that Friday. Yeah. So it's like, wait, this is supposed to be the Hall of Fame. Happy, we're doing something great, and look at our, career achievement guys here. But we're talking about a black eye on the sport here. That's where I think the rebuttal comes on Friday from Roger Goodell and company. And it's a complicated subject. And here's one other thing too people need to understand. It doesn't always take guilt or an actual charge or anything like that for you to be suspended by the NFL. Ezekiel Elliott had far less than this and was suspended 6 games. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger, it's one person, and he, again, was never charged or anything either.
Right.
And he was suspended. So the NFL, they have a little leeway here for sure, and I do think because of the Ray Rice subject that they tend to usually be overly hard when it comes to suspensions on players because they don't want to look soft or mess up like they did with the Ray Rice thing. And that's where ultimately I think that it will be somewhere at 8 to 10 games. I think Roger Goodell's going to step in and he'll up this suspension a little bit.
There are some people that make the argument, like, this is not the NFL's realm here. They say whatever happens off the field, it happened off the field, away from the game, doesn't affect the game. They should not even wade into stuff like this. But I even think normal businesses, though, I mean, if you did something that was unbecoming, that wasn't necessarily illegal, or you didn't get charged for, NBC would be well within their right to be like, I don't think we want to be associated with this anymore.
Well,
or not even high profile like you, or a CEO of a company, or even a worker at a company that makes other people that work there uncomfortable, even if you're not charged.
Yeah.
I mean, the rules are pretty similar for other people out there, too.
Yeah, they are, to a degree.
Companies don't need a ruling,
CBA.
a guilty verdict to necessarily make a move that they think is right for their company.
No, they don't. They don't necessarily. But, I think it's, you don't need that. But there's also, I think, a lot of cases out there where there's employees of companies who are in legal trouble and have issues, and their company has no idea. Guy got a DUI.
Yeah.
He's going to trial next month, and J.P. Morgan has no idea that he's going to trial next month and that he was driving around drunk all last month. They have no idea. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But where it is different, again, is there is a contract between the players and the NFL.
Negotiated.
So there is a negotiated contract there.
Yep.
This is within the power of the NFL, and I understand that too within the fact that this is a guy that's in the spotlight. They're selling football, and with somebody like a quarterback who's going to be on TV and full facial, here's Deshaun Watson for 4 hours, every Sunday, and then on a highlight show, an hour each day on every channel, that it does reflect on your league, and that's what they're worried about as far as protecting their assets. So I'll be interested to see where this goes.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. Maybe over the next couple of days before the Hall of Fame game. Chris will be at that coming up on Thursday to kick off the preseason. Another quarter.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.